They say it's the ultimate adventure bike, designed for the trail, to conquer mountain roads. But what is it like in the city? Let's find out. Now, lane filtering, as you might imagine, is a bit tricky, considering the girth of the bike, which means that you find yourself in situations like this a lot. And you might notice a curious phenomenon. It attracts a lot of male attention. They stare at it, and they were making these hand gestures, which I couldn't understand. I felt like I was in a weird mating ritual that never got to fruition. This bike that we have right here isn't just a regular R1250 GS. It is the 40th anniversary edition. It gets an exclusive black and yellow paint job with 40th anniversary decals. Aside from that though, it's the same as the regular bike. The R1250 is an intimidating looking bike. It looks tall and it looks wide, and that's mostly because of the boxer engine. So the cylinders are in a horizontal configuration. You can see the cylinder heads. Sticking out on both sides of the bike, and that gives the illusion of width, but it's not actually that much wider than the handlebars of most bikes. So you can still lane filter, although with a bit less confidence. So that's a 1,254 liter two-cylinder, four-stroke, liquid-cooled engine that produces 136 horsepower and 147 Newton meters of torque. Is that correct? No, 143 Newton meters of torque. So that's more power than most subcompact sedans, and this only weighs 250 kilograms, and that's with a full tank of gas. So here at the front, it gets a 19-inch spoked wheel, which is painted in gold. The tires are 120/70s. It gets dual disc brakes at the front, so both discs are 305 millimeters. It gets 4-piston calipers on both sides. So at the front, it gets a tele-lever suspension, which has plenty of travel. So this is ideal for going off-road or for going through the potholes of Metro Manila. The tele-lever suspension is a bit more complicated than your usual telescopic fork. It has a couple of more parts. It has a swing arm. It has a separate coilover, and the forks don't contain springs. Now, as you can see in this animation, as the suspension is being compressed, the front wheel is pushed forward, increasing the wheelbase of the bike, and the effect is that the front doesn't dip as much under hard braking. So over here, you have the distinctive look of the GS, which kind of looks like a confused duck. It's not beautiful, but it's iconic. Exhaust. Here at the back, it gets a 17-inch spoked wheel. The tires are 170/60s. You get a single-sided swing arm with a paddle level suspension. You won't see any trains here because the 1250 GS is shaft-driven, and that allows for a more complex suspension system. The paddle lever suspension has an additional link, and what it basically does is it prevents the wheel from rotating when being compressed. And the effect is that it minimizes squatting during acceleration. The suspension is electronically adjustable. You can adjust the damping just by pressing a button. So the seat height is 889 millimeters, which I find is just right for me. 5'8", and I can almost flat-foot it. By the way, the seat height of the R1250 is adjustable, and BMW Motorrad also offers an even lower seat and suspension lowering options. So even if you're 5'4", you'd be able to ride the bike. All the lights on the bike are LEDs. The headlight is adaptive, so it automatically adjusts the light beam when you're banking. It has heated grips, heated seats, keyless everything, multiple driving modes including rain mode, dynamic pro. It has cruise control, an 8-inch TFT screen. It has a quick shifter, and like I said, it has an electronically adjustable suspension. This is one of the most loaded bikes that you can buy right now. Riding the R1250 GS, you definitely feel like you're on something special. and you get reminded of that every time you get stares from people. It's quite the attention grabber. Now, if you're expecting to get a lot of female attention, I'm sorry to report that the only attention that I got was from fellow dudes. But you might have better luck. First off, moving from the 750 GS to the 850 GS is not as drastic as moving from the 850 to the R1250. There's a lot more power here. Torque is immediate, and you have to respect the clutch a lot more than you would on the 850 GS. Once you get used to it though, it feels perfectly manageable. Despite its size and weight, it feels surprisingly easy to ride. Because of the lower center of gravity of the Boxer engine, it feels light and agile. I think it almost feels lighter than the 850. It also sounds and feels very smooth. It almost doesn't feel like a two-cylinder engine. Also, even though it has a longitudinal engine, there is no noticeable gyroscopic effect when you're accelerating. The huge cylinder head sticking out to the sides of the bike will definitely take some getting used to. But aside from lowering the center of gravity, they also have another positive effect. They help block air coming from the radiator, so you don't feel the heat as much on your legs. They do make lane filtering a bit more tricky, but that could also be psychological because I'm not used to having a bike that's so wide at the bottom. The width of the engine is actually about the same width as my knees when I'm riding, so it shouldn't be as difficult to lane filter as it initially looks. You just have to get used to it. One thing that is common on all GS bikes is that they're all very comfortable. They have soft suspensions which are ideal for cruising and also for going off-road. Unlike the 850 and the 750 though, the 1250 has electronically adjustable suspension, so you can make it softer or stiffer depending on your preference. And you can do it on the fly, just by pressing a button. Now, I've heard some people say that the seat is uncomfortable on the R1250, but for some reason I never felt that. Maybe because I've gained some weight and I have a bit more padding down there. But yeah, the seat felt comfortable to me. This is a bike that's very well optimized for comfort. From the suspension, to the seating position, and to the actual seat. One thing that left an impression on me from doing reviews of BMW motorcycles is that the brand is very active in supporting its community. If you own a BMW motorcycle, it's not going to be a solitary experience. There's a thriving community behind it, and BMW Motorrad makes sure that that community thrives. They hold regular events, and everyone from the marketing department to Mr. Spencer Yu himself would be there. Now, speaking of events, I recently got to attend BMW Motorrad's Rider Safety Training Program, which is available to all BMW owners for a reasonable fee. Now, a lot of us dropped our bikes on the course, and some of us have been riding for a while, which just goes to show that even if you're an experienced rider, there's still stuff left to learn. This R1250 GS 40th Anniversary Edition sells for 1,645,000 pesos. I wasn't really an adventure bike kind of guy before, but the R1250 GS is the bike that changed my mind. If I had the budget, this is one of the bikes that I would consider buying. From the looks, to the comfort, to the handling, to the usability of the power, it's a one-stop shop bike. It might be the only bike that you'll ever need. Also, eventually, you might find that it's not just the bike itself that you'll enjoy, but also the community behind it. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing, and I'll see you on my next video.